Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com. This is tutorial number 9 in our series of beginners Java tutorials, and in this tutorial we're going to look at the switch keyword in Java. Switch allows you to take different actions depending on the value of a variable, a bit like if, except that switch is more efficient under some circumstances. Now switch perhaps isn't used all that much by some professional developers, including myself, but it's certainly something that you'll get quizzed about on courses and tests, and it's a handy thing to know about. So let's say I'm going to create a scanner object here so that I can read user input, and I'll say scanner input equals new scanner system.in. And in Eclipse I'll press Ctrl+Shift+O to add the Java util scanner import there, and then I'm going to get a value. Now you can only use switch to check certain types of variables, and the most common two that you'll check are probably int and string. So let's try a string here. I'll say string text equals input.getLine. So we're getting some text from the user, and I'm also going to, sorry, not get line, but next line, and I'm also going to put a prompt here, sysout control space, please enter some text. Actually, let's say please enter a command, because I'm going to pretend that I'm operating some kind of machine here via text commands. So here I've got my text that the user has entered, and I'm going to say switch brackets text excuse me, and so let's say text has the value start, the user type start. I want to take some action, execute some code, and if they type stop I want to execute other code, and if they type run, some other code, and so on. And I can use a switch to do exactly that. So I'll say case, and then I have to say the thing that I want to check against text. So let's say case start, and then some code that you want to execute. For example, I'll say machine started, and then underneath that you need the break keyword. So for every value of text that you want to check, you need a case statement starting with the case keyword, the value that you want to particularly check the variable for, and a colon, and then underneath that you type some lines of code that you want to execute if your variable happens to have this value, and then you have break. So let's have another one. You can have as many of these as you like. I'll just put in 2, I think. Stop colon, sysout machine stopped. Okay, don't forget the break, and then you can also have a default case which is optional, but if I say default colon, this is the code that will get executed if none of these alternatives are matched. And you can have, as I say, as many as you like here. There can be 10 or 20 or whatever. So I'll say here command not recognized, and the default bit has to go at the bottom, and I'm going to press Ctrl+Shift+F here for format, which will just reformat my code slightly in Eclipse. I don't know what happened there. Okay, and now, yeah, Windows, thank you, thanks Bill Gates. And now I'm going to just run this. This is a complete program. So I'll click the green run button, and we will see it will say in a minute, please enter a command. Here we go. If I enter something like some rubbish like this, it's going to say command not recognized, because this is what it does if none of these are matched. But if I run it again and I type start, for example, machine started, or of course stop, machine stopped, Now, as I say, you can only switch on certain kinds of variables, and int and string are the most common two that you will use here. Anything else, or most other things, you would want to use like an if statement. And the other thing to note is that these must be constants. You can't have case blocks that try to check a variable here. The only variable can be this variable here, and these must be constant values, strings or integers or whatever. Okay, well, that's the switch statement covered. Have fun with that. And in the next tutorial, we're going to start looking at classes and objects. If you've been following this series of tutorials, we've covered all the really basic building blocks of Java programs now, and you can already write pretty complex programs. And we're going to get on to some slightly more advanced concepts in the next tutorial, which will be number 10. So I hope you'll join me then. You can find this code on caveofprogramming.com, and until next time, happy coding.